Welcome back to our channel. The US and Iran are at war again, and this time it looks like the other countries, especially some Arab nations, could get involved too. Today I will be discussing this situation in the Middle East with retired Brigadier General Ufuk Uras. Thank you for joining us, General.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
General, why did the US and Iran start fighting again before the 60-day ceasefire was even over? Does it mean the war had started again?
You know, the US and Iran signed a memorandum of understanding last month. This can be considered as a ceasefire agreement, but in addition to that, there are some preconditions to facilitate the peace process for a final peace agreement. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important points in this agreement. According to the agreement, United States would remove their naval blockade, and Iran will open the strait for commercial shipping. And Iran will make arrangements for the safe passage of commercial shipping and will not charge any ship. However, according to this agreement, Iran says that they defined a corridor which passes very close to the mainland of Iran and to the Kashmir Island. This route should be used by the ships. However, some ships did not follow this route and they went from another route which passes very close to the UAE and Oman. And Iran struck these two ships, and the United States responded by bombing Iran heavily. Then Iran retaliated by striking Arab countries, the US facilities and US targets in these countries. And then it has become a tit for tat type of conflict. And that has brought the question whether the war will resume or how will it end up. There are different factors that affect the decisions. I mean, there are economic factors, geopolitical factors, personal factors, Trump, for example. So yesterday, J.D. Vance gave an interview to a media, and he said Israel wants this war to continue. This is an important pressure over the decisions of Trump administration. Another factor is the geopolitical factor. Many people in the West believe that Iran, Russia, and China has formed an alliance, and this is big obstacle for the achievement of their political goals. You know, West wants to establish influence over Eurasia and in the Rimland, which is now the territories of Middle East, Southeast Asia, and even Indo-Pacific. And they see Iran as an obstacle also to this. You know, Iran sits in a very important geography which extends from Central Asia down to the Indo-Pacific region. And they try to change the regime and to establish a puppet regime, a pro-Western regime. And this geopolitical approach was also employed by the Westerners. This was one of the reasons why the NATO went to Afghanistan. This is also one of the reasons why there is a war now between Russia and Ukraine. And the West now is in a dilemma. They don't know whether they should continue to reach their geopolitical goals by military methods or by peaceful methods. Trump every time says that he's a deal maker. His opinion is to reach these goals by making peace, but he's under the influence of many people. There are warmongers. Israel is a big pressure over him. So at this situation, it is now very obvious that the United States was not able to reach their military and political objectives by war. They bombed Iran for 40 days. They have not been able to reach any of their objectives. And if they return back to war, it will not bring the outcome that they expect. So they don't know what to do if they go to an all-out war. It is obvious that they will not be able to win this war, but there are people in the West, in the United States, who claim and who argue that the United States is powerful enough. US can even use their ground forces. US can mobilize their allies in the region, like Arab countries or the terrorist organizations like PKK. Uh, and they also even think of involving Turkey against Iran. But I don't think that this will work. So there is an uncertainty. It seems like the conflict is now a bit low intensity conflict between US and Iran. There are elections in United States and in Israel. I think they want to continue this in the form of a low intensity conflict, in the form of a tit for tat. Yesterday or today, I think Trump also made a call to the Iranians to return to the peace table, and he stated that they should come to the peace table in a week, otherwise, US will strike the energy infrastructure of Iran. However, if that happens, Iran will strike all energy infrastructure in the Arab countries, even the water facilities like desalination facilities, and also data center in United Arab Emirates. Iran also threatens that they will close Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which is a very important strait, which is at the entrance of the Red Sea from the Indian Ocean. If it happens, it's also another big pressure over the world economies, because maybe 20% of all commercial shipping passes by the Red Sea. So I believe that they will continue to fight maybe at a low intensity level, but I don't think that US will return back to an all-out war.
It appears that Israel has not attacked Iran. Do you think the US is aiming to draw Arab countries and the PKK into the war as well? Could you share your thoughts with us?
Let me start with the PKK. In
Mhm.
the 40-day war, uh, they wanted to use PKK, and according to some media
Yes.
reports, it is prevented by Turkey. If it is true, Turkey did the right thing. Nowadays, there are some media reports saying that there are some skirmishes between PKK affiliate PJAK and Iran Revolutionary Guards. On the other side, there are some reports that also they try to mobilize some groups in the Balochistan region against Iranian forces, but Iran forces are very much capable and large in size to defeat such insurgencies. Iran Revolutionary Guards, militias, and Iran regular army is also large in numbers, and they can hit harshly and defeat such insurgencies. Concerning the involvement of Arab countries, uh, I think Israel will be very happy if Arab countries enter a war against Iran. This is what Israel wants, because it will create a chaotic environment, and Israel will try to expand their territory to reach the so-called promised land. But Arab countries, I don't think that they will go to a war with Iran, because it is not for their interest. If they go to a war, it will be very costly for both sides, and it will never be a rational decision. And there is also a group of four countries: Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. This is a kind of informal security architecture of the region. They always negotiate, and I believe that in this format, the Arab countries are advised not to go to a war. If they go to a war, it will be a very dangerous situation for the entire region.
As you know, all these developments happened during the NATO summit in Ankara. Did NATO leaders decide to take military action against Iran?
I don't think so. In the summit declaration document, there was only one sentence about Iran. The first part of this sentence was saying that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, and in the second part, Strait of Hormuz will be opened. I mean, Iran will be called upon to open Strait of Hormuz. There were some informal talks during the summit, and one of the talks was about sending mine-sweeping ships to the Strait of Hormuz. NATO, I don't believe that will be involved in a war-fighting operation against Iran. Some nations will definitely veto this. Most of the nations are focused on the situation in Ukraine. They do not have enough resources. The public in Europe are against a war. They don't want to spend resources. They will not take such a risk because if they go to a combat operation, it will be also very risky, and they will not be able to explain this to the public. You know, during the Iraq war, the United States wanted to include NATO in this war, but NATO countries did not decide to go to war together with the United States. Some NATO nations went to war together with US individually. NATO was involved only by a training mission in Iraq. And in this situation, maybe NATO will decide to support the operation only by mine-sweeping operations. I don't expect that NATO will go to a major operation.
Finally, in light of these new developments, I would like to ask about Turkey's situation toward Iran. What should we expect from Turkey regarding the war with Iran?
During the 40-day conflict, Turkey has not provided any support to the United States, did not allow the use of Incirlik base for the operations. Turkey and Iran are two main regional powers. The two countries haven't fought a war for about 400 years. There is a power balance, and both countries are respectful to their differences. There is a high trade volume between Iran and Turkey, and it's not for the interest of any country. I mean, a war between Iran and Turkey does not serve the interests of any of the country. There were some discussions whether the West wants to involve Turkey for a war with Iran. I believe definitely they would want it. The Iran issue was on the table in the West for more than 20 years. There were many scenarios to fight a war against Iran. I guess that they were also talking to involve Turkey in such a war. I don't think any Turkish political authority will take such a decision. Such a decision would be a very big mistake, and they cannot explain it to the public because the Turkish public was supporting Iranians. Maybe 90 or 95% of Turkish public was supporting Iran in the war with Israel and the United States. So this is not possible. Maybe Turkey can get involved if NATO carries out a mine-sweeping operation. I don't say a major operation. Only in case of a mine-sweeping operation, maybe Turkey can send one or two ships. And in terms of PKK, PKK is used as a proxy by Israel, by USA, and by Western powers in Syria, in Turkey, in Iraq, and in Iran. And if PKK goes to fight against Iranians, Turkey should do its best to prevent this and should be aligned with Iran to fight this, because the PKK and its affiliates are serving the interests of Israel, USA, and the Western powers.
General, thank you very much for giving explanations and information.
My pleasure. I hope the issue will be resolved peacefully. I hope that the parties come back to the table and make a peace in a very short time.
Okay. Thank you for watching us. Hope to see you again on our next programs. Bye.